37. All right. So we can still stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
For the first, I'm just going to speak up for John's benefit. Speak up for John's benefit. So the first item on the agenda is the budget, which I'm told is due by this week, end of this week, correct?
Actually, the end of the month.
Or the end of the month?
Yes.
Okay.
So like I did bring up, and now share it with John as well, like a similar budget template. So in this template is for like another committee that has the same composition as the DDIC, and it has breakdowns for equipment, repairs and maintenance, for professional and technical, for communications, and for like other supplies and travel as well. That's actually how that boarding committee actually broke down its budget. So we can do, actually if the DDIC wanted to propose a budget, one of the questions that we'll have to deal with going forward. So one of the questions we'll have to deal with actually heading forward is historically all boards and committees in their first year, all boards and committees in their first year, their budget has always actually gone through the Board of Selectmen first. So, but the DDIC is different because up until 2019, it was its own regularly established board and commission. So so I think as we go forward to 23, I think as we go forward into FY23, that is going to be a question I'm going to have for the Board of Selectmen, whether they want it under their budget. So if they want it going back to being their own budget.
Is it because it's with the state somehow, kind of hooked in with them, or?
Actually, like in FY22, just as an example, like the human rights, in FY22, the Human Rights Committee, as a first-year committee, had a budget, but that budget was under the Board of Selectmen. Like in the prior year, the Trails Committee, in FY21, they had their own budget, but it was under the control of the Selectmen. But in FY22, they were out on their own.
Mm-hmm. Not to minimize the difference, to be honest, I'm not sure how it affects us, but the budget we propose.
Yes.
And the budget we ask for, whether it's ours or whether it's under the Selectmen, is an accounting thing that it doesn't affect us all that much. I mean, maybe there's some way it does, but.
I would say all of it is really semantics at the end of the day, but I just wanted to share.
Okay, all right. So, I mean, I had put together a few items that we had talked about deliverables that we wanted for the next budget, and John had also sent a few, and Lenny had a few. So I thought maybe we could just go through the things that people had proposed for potential costs, and then how we categorize them, whether there's like a communication or professional services or whatever. I mean, that's just how we label it, but some of the things that we have been talking about, the biggest one, probably the most expensive, was marketing video, which would potentially involve drone footage, some professional services to help us potentially, come up with content and editing, that kind of stuff. And, we had talked about reaching out to like DR or Plymouth and seeing if they could help, or Dartmouth.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, because of the holiday, I haven't been able to talk to anybody there. So I just did a preliminary of what it would cost if we were to hire a private professional.
Mhm.
And I didn't know whether we wanted to say like what our ask would be.
Mhm.
What would it be for private professional, knowing full well that we want to backtrack from that and try to get it from like an intern at Dartmouth or that sort of thing.
Yep.
But that, it's an expensive, well, fairly expensive ask if you were to go private. So I didn't
Agreed.
know if that made sense, or we just say like, we're going to ask what we could do
Mhm.
if we can get an intern, and that's our ask. And if we can't get an intern, then it's off the table. I mean, so
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
logically, which makes more sense in terms of the process.
Mhm.
And the uncertainty.
Mhm.
Isn't this with free cash?
Yeah, yes, I mean, so arguably, this is a one-time thing, it could be considered. Arguably, it's a capital request, it's a one-time only. So type of thing, so we could also go to capital outlay and ask for it there as well. And at the end of the day, if we did that, then we can move forward to a free cash. I like actually had a special town meeting thing.
See,
November.
I see the need,
Mm-hmm.
but I also understand the budget constraints that we are going to be under.
Be a really tight year.
Obviously, we don't want to stealth the growth of this commission. Just see that as a possible plan B,
Mm-hmm.
if you will. Because budget on the table. Planning purposes, would it be wise to plan as though there were no constraints? And through the process and have it whittled down,
Mm-hmm.
potential for a plan B? I don't know, I'm throwing that out as a. So
That's
one,
a strategy for one,
we
yeah.
have a plan.
Yep.
And two, we have potential other funding.
Well, I'm just speaking up for John's benefit, so he can
Okay.
make sure he hears this. So the budget we propose would be for, as if we had to contract with a private person, knowing full well it's not what we want to do, but
Mhm.
because we can't guarantee we're not going to have other alternatives yet. And when I searched around, it's like, on average, it varies a bit, but it's about $150, $200 an hour for someone to do drone video. And if they were driving around town doing different sites, you can see them easily putting in 4 or 5 hours, to get cut down to like 10 minutes. Then video editing and production, it's probably gonna be like another 2,500. So it might cost us like 3,500 on up, but at least $3,500 if we were to
That's
hire people to
reasonable.
do it. So that, at least for the video portion of our budget, that would be our ask.
Mm-hmm.
So other people, are they okay with asking for that? Or do you feel like we should just say, if we can't get help through like an intern at DR to help cut this cost down, it's just, I'm not gonna do it until next year.
I think that we could propose, we would like, and if that is the case, then we may have to postpone if we don't, if our budget isn't approved, but if it is approved, I think we don't want to delay moving forward with the production of the,
Well, at the end of the day, like, I just have one thought, like, I mean, so at the end of the day, one of the things the economic development plan is gonna, actually help us do is come up with a marketable brand. So I'm just wondering if a video would be better suited and better funded at the end of that. Oh, like, once we have all the recommendations and we can incorporate, like everything in that plan in the video as well.
It's funny you should say that, because I know you've been saying, we need a video. John has said, that's a great idea. But to be honest, I sometimes feel like we're putting the cart before the horse. We don't know what we're marketing, but we know this is how we want to market it. So we're like saying, like, let's do it. And then God forbid, come spring or summer, we still don't have our ducks in a row, but we've got money on the table to spend.
Right.
So I was wondering if this is not a better project for next year than for this year. That's just a thought, but.
I agree.
You agree?
I agree. I think it's a little too soon for,
Yeah, like, if we did it for this year, we don't know what we're gonna put in it, we just know we're gonna do it, and we're asking for money for it, and then we may, by spring, summer, we're still working with Circuit, we're still working with, the advisors that we're gonna get from the economic grant, and we don't really have content yet, and then we're gonna rush to spend the money because we got it on the table?
Most all, as is good.
Honestly.
To the individuals who have the expertise.
Easily I don't mean, not easily acquired, I mean, putting together content is a laborious, I mean. Put thought into it, and I feel like we're gonna rush ourselves a bit. I do agree, like, maybe the next year is a better timing for.
I do. I think I'd like to see a little bit more, I'll call it light, it's a little, things to be a little bit more lit up before we actually go into that. Maybe I'm wrong, but, it's my opinion. I think we're going a little too fast on that. Let's see what we want first.
John is probably the one who's had more experience with this sort of thing, maybe not specific. I don't know what your thoughts are.
I'm totally okay with that. I am. If we believe as a committee, right, that we don't want to rush into that, I'm totally okay with that. And I think that's a great idea about seeing, if we can have, the work that Serpent's going to do, help us define that and then, even budget for it. So I think that's great. I mean, I'm not sure, Mike, if we can even incorporate something like that into the work that Serped does.
Yeah, John, so yeah, I actually had a similar question that I want to ask them as well. How can they help us do that?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, and that might be an opportunity there.
Yeah. So I'm totally okay with that, guys. Yep.
You're shaking your head like you didn't want to defer it. No, okay. And kind of along the same vein, because it's about content and the whole idea of coming up with brochures. I mean, it's the same it's the same thing. You have to do, what is our content going to be? What is our marketing strategy going to be? Why do we rush to print brochures that we don't know we're going to put in there? So
yeah.
Thing it also goes to next year. Okay. Some of the other things that did come up for costs for this year that we could put in is you had been talking, and you probably have more thought about how you were going to do this, John, but a spring business event or multiple events, however you were going to work it, where you were going to reach out to Dighton, maybe Dighton Berkeley, but invite people in, that sort of thing. So there were costs associated with that you were thinking?
So I am not sure what there would be for costs. I mean, obviously, Chris and I have been talking about this event to happen in the spring. That would probably be a combination of both Dayton and Berkeley to be held at the new Bristol Aggie School function area. So I'm not sure if they would charge us for that area. I'm not sure if they would charge us for any, sundry charges, and I don't know at all. So I listed that as a possible thing that we might need to have some funding for, but it's still too early right now for me to tell you what that might be and how much we would need.
Are there other potential venues though besides Aggie School, like DR itself, or that a similar thing could be held at, where we invite local businesses in, get their input on what the town should be doing and how we could help, that sort of thing?
So I think we could also do it at DR. I guess our intention was to try to show off this beautiful asset that we have in the county, right? So, having in that facility would have also given the opportunity for the businesses to be able to see that facility, which is quite impressive. So I think that that's the reason why we're heading in that direction.
Lauren is not here tonight. I don't see her on Zoom. So I can reach out to her this week and maybe she can help us get an answer, because she's Aggie's representative. So, and she could tell us whether they allow us to do that without cost, if there are some minimal charges associated with using their function room, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
So I just have like a question on that. Who would that actually be hosted by, John? Would that be hosted by the chamber itself, and the chamber would be paying?
So the chamber, we were thinking that it would be hosted by the chamber with a number of sponsors. So we would try to get local businesses to also sponsor. So I don't think there would be cost to the town, but I just wanted to list that there in case we would need funding. I don't know if we would, but I just didn't want to be remiss and not label something or list something that we might need funding for.
So we'll just start with what Lauren's take is. Hopefully she can shed some light on, since she's representing Aggie, what their cost would be, if any.
Great.
Okay.
Yes, yeah, it would be like this one. I can actually fill this in as we go, and I can email it out afterwards.
Okay.
And it's due into your office by?
January 31st.
Is that, we should publish? Do you need a worksheet, or can we just give you a number?
So I can just have a number, that will be fine. As long as I have a number, I can plug in the number, and that, it's like that figure will be the placeholder that I can, so I can advance through the process, and if it changes, it can change as
But
well.
that would give us time to.
Yes.
So why don't, since we don't have Lauren here and I have to ask her, and we're trying to settle this tonight, what if we stuck in just a number, $500 of costs associated to Aggie? And Lauren will come back probably and say, oh, it's zero, and that's fine. And then I'll just tell Mike, oh, it's really zero, and he can zero it out, as opposed to a number for costs for the business event.
Do we need,
I would definitely recommend that, especially as part of our economic development plan. We're gonna have any forums or any type of outreach.
to 1,500?
Total.
Yeah.
Maybe you talked with Mike about that, I don't know.
Well, he mentioned it in it.
1,500 for what is it that you're?
Well, we went over of this group's budget request. This where they requested as much as 75.
Like I believe, like in FY 18 and 19, they ended up of their budget, which was pretty inflated. They ended up spending around $750 and $900. So that's why we were thinking, oh, you know, like right around like $1,000. If we have to do a mailing, we could do it.
Well, John needed the business cards made up.
We got those pro bono, somebody donated them for us.
No
They're
problem.
only enough for John, and it has his name on them.
That's fine,
None of the
that's
rest of us
fine.
have cards.
I actually still have some in my office.
So I have 250 for John, but he'll probably, I don't know, might use those at some point, so we might.
I don't think there's 250 businesses in town, so that's not good.
But the other things, takeaways. Oh, you had mentioned, John, reimbursement for mileage for town businesses, sorry. Was that for the chamber's activities or?
No, for you. So say, you would wanted me to, go around to the town and, do some canvassing of businesses and, if you, anything that you wanted me to do, for town business, I don't know how the town works that, if you do reimburse mileage or not. And it's okay one way or the other. I did have a question mark on it though, you know what I mean? So it doesn't matter which, and each way, anyway.
I think it's only fair that he does get reimbursed. I mean, that's,
I would agree, I just don't know what the mechanics are for the town, how they generally work that.
So honestly, I need to check and see if that's an actual like allowed practice. I mean, like it sounds actually pretty reasonable, but I just want to check.
That's fine, Mike. It really is not going to be a big deal. I just thought, if I was going to put on a lot of miles.
Oh,
is that
yeah,
something-
no, makes sense.
Yeah, okay.
Without counting on that.
Okay. What else did we be talking about for items?
So like on that as a placeholder, how much were you thinking, John, realistically, so we can have it in the game and then we can always take it out?
Yeah, what do you think? $50 at the most, something like that,
100.
Yeah, like I was thinking 300, Joe was thinking 500. He's more liberal than I am, so.
Well, I drive a Toyota, so I get really good gas mileage, so.
But you still have other expenses, so
Mailings.
And we're,
whatever. I'm only one vote.
No, I think it's reasonable, I mean, you can actually.
Gas is-
If we don't use it, it goes back into the budget. That's the way I see it, but.
The other thing, do people need business cards for themselves other than Joe?
I think we said no, talked about that.
So, yeah, I don't really.
For right now, maybe next year when we're really focused.
When we're
and
real
doing-
bored and real.
Yeah, like we're really out there and showing our video.
Is it all right to use the old ones?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
You just scratch out that one number, because I don't think she wants any phone.
No time at all.
Vicky?
Yeah. This is jumping ahead a little bit, but it's related to the budget. We had talked about, we didn't give a lot of discussion about this, but we just said it and it said, oh yeah, that's a good idea for something to do was set up on the town website, preferably the town website, not Facebook, but we can talk about that. And maintain going forward a listing of available commercial property in town, whether it's for lease or sale. Obviously, it'd have to be maintained, we have to get people to submit, like, they have property that's, you know, that's empty, that they're trying to lease or they're trying to sell, it's commercial property. It's just one more way to help people who are trying to keep the business going in Dayton. However, I don't know if we'd actually be able to get that on the town website in a way that allows us to maintain it in an easy way, because it is something that if people are looking for space, they're gonna be Googling the web.
Yeah, they will come first,
They're not
yeah.
gonna go to social media.
Mhm.
So saying, oh, you can have your own Facebook page sounds nice, but I don't think it would really achieve what we're asking for. I don't know how the town feels about setting up a page that we could use for this. You know, would we have to pump all the information to Brett all the time, every time we get it?
No, like we can do that like in-house through town hall as well. Like we have the ability to update the website and we do that regularly. So like the only thing like I'm thinking, like I think it might be more practical for the DDIC to set up its own website. It's actually its own web area on the town website.
The town
Oh,
website, yeah.
On the town website, then we can link to the MLS listings. Like I looked earlier, like, and there was 0 in Dayton right now.
For sale.
Or rent as well.
Okay.
So like in the event that, we don't have anything, we don't want to have a blank website either, we can have other stuff from the committee.
Before we get any, can you kind of, I didn't understand what that was all about.
Sure.
I hate to be questioning that, but I also don't want to have that where I don't understand what you're trying to accomplish by that, if you could.
It was just, and this was, you know, partly like the big factory for Oasis having all that space, but anybody else in town that has property that's vacant and they're trying to rent or sell, that's commercial property, business zone. It's just, you know, we'll help them. We'll keep it on the town website about like, this is available, this is how it zones. You need to, you know, if you're interested, this is who you contact. This is, you know, any other information like relevant about like, this is an available property, commercial property, for rent, for lease or sale, and here's what it's zoned for, here's who you call, here's the information.
Strictly commercial property.
Commercial.
Okay, all right, that's,
And,
I didn't hear the commercial part end of it, and I'd hate to see us starting to compete with real estate agents. That wouldn't go down too well.
We wouldn't have an expenditure with the town.
right, that was my question, like, we have
No.
to budget anything for this.
No, we can do that in-house and have a link or like
Okay,
yeah, like all that's in-house, we can do that in-house.
so are there other things of a financial nature for a budget that
How about
we can bring up?
professional and technical? Is that,
Well, that's a lot of it.
Is that,
Serpent,
yeah,
yeah,
okay.
economic development,
I hear that all the time, I'm just wondering.
so getting money to do that, but it is actually, but we don't have to ask the town for that,
No,
right? We don't have to put it in our budget because we've been granted, we've gotten a couple grants,
okay,
including Serpent.
I just threw it out there because you hear it all the time.
Any other items?
No
It sounds like
question.
we're kind of zeroing in, mostly for the mailings, but around 5,000, 1,500 that we're gonna ask, right? With the bulk of that being the ability to do mailings and then maybe some mileage. And we've deferred the two biggest, most expensive items to next year, so
So the 1,500.
I think it sounds about reasonable,
Sounds
1,500.
good.
I agree.
What about brochures? Would that be, I mean, we thought about making some kind of pamphlets and things like that. Is that still on the radar? Or?
Well, that's what I was saying earlier, if we're gonna push the video off because we don't know what the content's gonna be yet and we don't get rushed into doing something, the same would probably be true of the brochures. We don't really know what our marketing plan is, how we're gonna.
Okay.
So that would again go to next year.
Okay.
Yeah, we definitely want to do it, but maybe next year is the better year to do it. what we're putting in.
See, this is the one area that I really don't know much about any of that, so I appreciate it. Anything that, you guys can, it's not my
Yeah,
thing.
no, like, I would recommend we get further through the economic development plan so we have a message and the message is uniform and consistent.
I think.
The mission has to be kept clear, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Stay on
It's all
track
part of
with
that
that.
brand and.
up early on, right?
So in terms of the first business item, budget for 2023, are we set, Mike, in terms of the information we need to provide you? Or is there more to discuss here?
So yeah, what I'll do, like, I'll put in like 1,500 as a start.
Okay.
Oh, good. Yep.
I think we should make that.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
What you're asking for? Okay, good. You wanna make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, so we're requesting 1,500
I'll
2023 budget.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Got you up.
Motions?
No,
Guys have it?
great job.
Oh, God, here we go. A motion.
So just as a heads up, over the next month and a half, I am gonna need to be the bad guy in a lot of ways.
Oh.
So there's like a very likely possibility that I might come back and ask for it to be reduced a little. But I mean, like, I think, like if we can get to the $1,000, that would be ideal. So like, that's where I really practically see us ending up at, just to
And between,
have that out there.
between good guy, bad guy, what's your preferred role?
It depends on the day.
So the next item
It'll
is
be tight, I guess.
timeline for the community compact cabinet best practices initiatives, meaning what do we have to do, when, at what point, as deliverables in order to make sure that we continue to qualify for what's been made available. So Mike, you have some points on that.
Yep, so I reached out to Serped right after the beginning of the year, and I followed up with them like on the timelines, like for the, to kick off the $25,000 grant we got from the state, but also to blend it and incorporate it with the roughly $40,000 we're gonna be getting from Serped as well as a match to that. And what I, what I was told is that Serped is excited to start the Dayton Economic Development Plan, but before they officially launch, they just need to go through a few more steps. Serped will begin the DLTA, the District Local Technical Assistance Program. So Serped will begin the DLTA solicitation process later this month. So like in that, like I know is now already underway. Like we don't have to do anything about filling out our application. Serped could do that actually on our behalf. But Serped just needs to make sure there aren't so Serped just needs to make sure there aren't any other competing projects from the town, and we know there aren't. So like with that in mind, I have like a Zoom call with Serped this coming Thursday. So like, and then we'll talk about how we kick everything off, and I'm gonna invite them to the next meeting.
Okay.
So like we can all like be in this whole thing together. So at that point, we can talk about a timeline with them, and how to roll this whole project out. So yeah, like, in short, by like our February meeting, we should really be like in good place to kick off. Sort of kick off everything with Serped. That is all I have on that right now. If there's any questions.
TA stands.
Yep, it is a district local technical assistance program.
So it sounds like maybe our February meeting,
Yeah.
not that there won't be other things to talk about, but the bulk of it, we need to carve out time for
Yes.
talking with Serpent and understanding what they're proposing. And
Yes. Yeah, and that whole process.
anybody else have any questions?
That would be for the February meeting.
Bulk of our meeting, sounds like. Next one was, and John, I know you've actually already, talked about this a little bit because we were talking about financing, but the small business outreach planning in general would help. I mean, you have, finally, whoops.
Is he there?
Hey, where'd he go? Where'd John go?
Might have gotten bumped off.
He came back. Is it something we said? What Jan said?
He fell off the ship.
Well, shoot, where? Did we sign off?
Oh, he dropped off.
Are we off of the meeting?
No, we're still on. So we're still being
Maybe
recorded.
he got bumped off.
I
Oh,
lost the signal.
here he is.
There he is. He's back.
Yes, I'm sorry.
That's all right, no. So it was twofold. One is, what assistance might you need from other people on the committee to help you with this? It sounds like you are very graciously spearheading this, which we all appreciate. But I just want to make sure that it's not you alone if what you need is resources like other from the rest of us. So, and also if you talked a little about the spring event, but were there other aspects of this? Like, I know you had talked about a potential questionnaire,
Yes.
maybe a little bit of one-on-one with some key people in town, businesses, like Pure Oasis or other, people in town that really have strong opinions, about what could be done. But yeah, if you just want to like fill us in a little bit about what you're thinking and what help we can give you.
Is this in regards to the Serpent work or what? Because I missed a little bit about, what the context of the question. I'm sorry, Dan.
This is all about the small business outreach.
Okay.
So not Serpent specifically, but what you had been talking about all along. And I know you came up with a draft questionnaire that at some point you might want to send out to the businesses, and I did bring copies for everybody here, so I can share that
Good.
actually while you're talking.
Okay, sure. So, I was thinking that as I'm retired and I do have time, that, my role within the committee would be to, talk, introduce myself and talk to local area businesses about, what they liked about Dayton and that sort of thing. And, what their challenges are about having a business in Dayton and that sort of thing. But I also did put together this. So I've done some research on questionnaires, on how other communities have done this and that sort of thing. And I've put together a draft of a questionnaire. I also worked with it with Chris Silver to give her a little bit of credit as well from the chamber on, what are some of the questions that, we think should be asked of businesses. And so I wanted to just share that with everybody to see if this would be something that you would want to review with the rest of the town, committees and stuff, and make sure it's okay to send out. And maybe even, we send it out as obviously part of this committee. So I can either do outreach individually, or if we want to rather do it via a questionnaire, because if you do it with a questionnaire, and especially if it's anonymous, right, we may get a little bit better feedback than, a face-to-face question. On the other hand, a face-to-face question, you can get really in depth, right? So I am open to either way or a combination of both.
Letting people read through it so they can
Sure.
get a sense of what you're.
And I am absolutely open to your input. I don't progress, to be an expert on this. I just thought I would try to take a shot at, really trying to assess from the businesses, the value that they get from the town, what services they use and don't use, what do they know about, that sort of thing. So I don't know, just to, and folks, please feel free to give me your comments on this.
At your choice, would you prefer that the questionnaire went out and you got responses back prior to your having a like springtime business event? So that you have something in your pocket in terms of what, people are thinking, or would it be afterwards?
Timing is okay with me. I mean, before the spring event would probably be great. I also think about this some more. Maybe it might be really good is to be able to send this questionnaire out, get the responses. Hopefully we get some good responses. And then I can go visit some of the businesses, share some of the findings from the questionnaire, and then probe with some of the questions that this commission feels are the key elements that we want to dive deeper into. That's another way to look at it.
Actually, sending a questionnaire to the businesses is not as big it's not as big an effort as sending to, all residents of Dayton, but it's still mailing things out. And at the moment, we have zero budget. How would we accomplish this?
That question for me.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was, I'm trying to think what we would, what I'm thinking now. Because we don't have a budget.
Is it something that we can vote on and approve after we find out what our financial situation looks like? But agree.
So like the only thing, like if we do get a budget, there'll be a budget that doesn't start until July 1st of 2022. So that's why we're in this little in-betweener right now. So what we could do, we could utilize and try to utilize the heck out of social media. But like a lot of our businesses, we'd have to really target like an email and try to get emails. I can try to get emails to do outreach in order to not have an impact on a postage budget that we don't currently have.
So that's another way to do it, right? Do we have emails of the business owners in town? Do we have email contact information?
That's very limited. We have a few of the key ones, but one, we have businesses that operate out of their homes, which we don't have any of, we really don't have any of that information. And then from the town point of view, we only have the contact information that we do for the license, for all the licensed businesses. So those are the businesses who have like a common victual license, they have a liquor license, they're like an automotive, they're an automotive dealer. So they have either a class 1 or class 2 license as well.
Yep.
How many people is that altogether?
So just the licensed, it's probably, wait a second.
Oh, so the link that you sent me, Mike, had about
Yep.
30 businesses listed. Yeah.
And those are only the ones that are licensed of some sort.
Right.
Another committee, if they had some resources in their budget to support this initiative, like, for example, the Economic Development Incentive program, whatever department that falls under, maybe there's a committee that oversees that.
No, buddy,
The Dayton Development Industrial Commission, correct me, falls under the auspices of the Board of Selectmen for budgetary process. Is it appropriate?
so like we couldn't do a transfer of funds, but we could, I think it's perfectly reasonable. So if we had a dollar amount of how many, like what type of mailing, the size of a mailing we were looking at, then come up with a cost, and then, and then ask the Board of Selectmen's budget to fund that. I think that's perfectly reasonable, yes.
Okay.
So it sounds like we're looking at maybe 30, but if we could fill in the gaps with non-licensed businesses,
Yep.
maybe we're up to 50 or 60. That's.
I mean, so at most 100 times, I mean, at most, say hypothetically 100.
Yeah.
What is postage? I mean, we can even do like a post. I mean, would we give a link? Would we give a website link, or would we actually mail the survey?
So.
If we could do a postcard with a link, that saves a ton of money.
Yeah. How many folks do you think would take it and not respond because it's not a link? Because it's a link. I don't know. The research that I've read is that you want to give the respondents every opportunity to give in an answer, right? You know what I mean? So you want to try to give them every way possible to respond to that questionnaire, right? So if you think a link would work for the majority of folks, then I'm willing to give it a shot.
So we have a Dayton businessman on our committee right now who has a genius 8-year-old grandchild who does those sort of things for him. But if he did not have his grandchild with him and he got a postcard with a link, how would he respond? He threw it away.
I didn't know you were looking at me, but.
Would you fill out a certain form?
Yeah, that was my second.
It depends on what mood I'm in that day, but honestly, the chances are I won't even get to see it. My wife will probably pick it up as, but I think if it was sent with like a text bill, there's a better chance of that getting seen than, I mean,
Yeah, I'm wondering, and I'm not a business person, but if more of the face-to-face contact, even if it was, giving them, asking them, do you prefer to have the link information on a postcard or the hard copy questionnaire, and if they'd like your assistance in filling it out, if they have time to do it right now, and if they understood that it was, the purpose was to inform the town of Dayton in ways that we can help businesses. I think we want to raise awareness too, to the business community that the town wants
Yes.
help. So maybe our first contact should possibly be face-to-face.
I agree with that totally, yeah, I think if someone approached me or, and just asked me some questions, not to bother me in a sense, that's the first thing that you have to say is, I'm not here to bother you, but I just wanted to ask you a few questions and things that we're trying to do in the town to better to provide better service for you, you know, would you spend 5 minutes or 10 minutes with me to ask you a few questions? I think I would rather see it that way than any other way. Does that help?
Yeah, so it sounds like, we would like to do this, and if you want me to see if I can get around to the businesses, one of the things is, of course, I don't want to, wouldn't want to walk in the middle of a busy day, right? Or that sort of thing, right? So how, I would have to think about how best to do that so we don't really interrupt them, right? Yeah. I don't know if I would make an appointment or call first, or maybe even call and try to get it done over the phone, or I'm open to suggestions for sure. And if you think it would be okay for me to ride around town, knocking on people's doors, I can do that too.
I think a phone call ahead of time,
Yeah.
and then see how they feel, and then if that didn't work, then maybe a surprise visit,
Yeah.
Yes, but I think a phone call,
If they see an unrecognized number, they can identify it.
but don't you think a phone call ahead of time might be, no?
Well, yeah, face to face, and then just say if this is a good time, or can I make an appointment and
So
come
we
back?
need to figure out how many businesses there are.
Well, 30 plus, at least
30 plus?
30 licensed ones.
The license, yes.
Easy, easy. We can do it one day.
30
We can
is a lot.
split.
Actually, well, if you split it up,
Yeah.
a lot of people here are working during the day, so split it, so.
Weekend,
But then a lot of businesses may not be open on weekends. so-
Saturday.
Yeah, exactly. So, it's,
Yeah, we do 15 in the first Saturday, second 15.
I think you're being a little aggressive, but in terms of how much work. But I think in person, yeah, it does sound like maybe we need to
Okay,
start there.
so I think if I heard everything right, is you wanted to try to do this in person. And say if I'm interrupting, I'll come make an appointment to come back, or I'll leave the questionnaire with them and ask them to send it back, or something like that. But everybody's in favor of me doing this in person.
So John, understanding we don't have a budget and we don't have any mileage reimbursement or anything, would you be okay with that though?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
When we do, we'll reimburse you.
I work for ice cream too.
Ice cream.
I have a question that I didn't know. Are you aware of economic development incentive programs in the town of Dayton? Where are those?
Yeah.
So that actually brings me to like a really good point. Like I have a few edits, like in a few proposals, John, if it's okay, I would like to talk about offline.
Sure.
And that question is one of them because the EDIP program, as far as I know, like it's actually a program for businesses. It's a program for businesses looking to grow and expand. They're not, EDIP isn't just for any existing businesses. Oh, it's a program for businesses that specifically want to grow and expand.
Yep. So one of the things is
And
right,
that's not in the question, so it would be confusing.
What is the incentive?
There were tax incentives specifically.
Yep.
So to a TIF program or like a TIF arrangement, a tax increment financing arrangement?
Okay.
Okay, and that, John, the EDIP is through the EDIP is through the state, right? And we would match it with our own local TIF program, is that correct?
I actually don't know all the details on how it works, but I do know that it is a tax incentive for businesses that want to locate or grow in town. And so one of the things I think it was great is to get, maybe a lot of our businesses don't even know that's available. And if it was available, they would consider, growing in Dayton, right?
But is that just for Dayton, or is that for every city in town?
I don't
The
know.
EDIP program covers, the EDIP program is a state version of so the EDIP program is a state version of our local TIF program. So if there's a business, if there's a business that gets a local TIF from us, they have an ability, I believe, to apply through the state EDIP program as well.
But it's not just the Dayton program, any town that your business is in probably.
I would say so.
And at least on the state side, when they say grow, they're generally talking about employees.
Yes.
It's not like grow like in revenue or, it's grow like in the number of your employees. It's kind of what they focus on.
Yeah, and in tax revenue too, because if you're growing and expanding, you have more, if you're growing and expanding, you have more employees, but more, if you're growing and expanding, you have more employees, but more commercial taxable property as well.
So in terms of finalizing this, it sounds like you have some suggestions. If you're gonna work offline, and maybe we can come back to
Yeah,
this
that's okay,
at
John?
a future meeting. Whether we can do it at the February meeting, because we're gonna be talking so much about Serpent, I don't know. But if not February, then the March meeting maybe, plenty, at least we can do it, prior to the event planning that you're trying to kick off in spring sometime, so.
Sure. That's fine. And Mike, yes, would you like me to send you an email to set up some time to get together?
Yeah, that would be amazing, John, if you don't mind.
Yep, will do.
That'd be great.
Yep.
Yeah, I work holidays, so I'm always around.
Okay. And would anybody else like to give me feedback on this? I'm not sure, through the process of the open meeting, whether, you can send emails back and forth or how best to do that, but how do I get other people's input?
If you notice, when I send out say reminders about our meeting even, other than Lenny, Mike, I always blind CC everybody. So although they can always reply back to me, nobody else gets it. So if you have things you want to send out to people, I don't know if that's a way to avoid open meeting problems, if you just BCC it, so it's never more than two people talking? Or is that am I just looking for loopholes?
So yeah, that's like a big loop.
Okay, all right.
It's a big looking for loophole.
Okay.
If you deliberate with more than 3 people of this committee, actually on this, John, that's an open meeting law violation. However, if you do it with 3 or less, it's not.
Okay.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then Lauren. So that's 7. 3 and over is, I'm sorry, over 3 is, but 3 and under is not.
Doesn't matter for nobody knows.
I'm sorry, I counted Lenny, didn't I? I'm sorry.
I don't know, Lauren, is she looking at?
Yes, she is.
Yeah, I counted Lauren.
Just like,
Yeah, so anything over 2, when you take out Lenny and I is an open meeting law issue, but anything 1 and 2 is fine.
So 2 is okay.
Yeah, yes, John can talk to himself, which he probably does on a regular basis like I do, and then he can talk to one more person.
So would it be okay then if people sent me their feedback individually? And then I compile that into the.
Yes, and we can discuss it at the next meeting, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
does anybody, while we have this on the discussion, does anybody have any questions about this? So we had talked about the web presence listing as part of the budget, and we're gonna find out how the best way to mechanically make that happen, so that we have some control over it.
Yes, oh, absolutely, it's not.
What we haven't talked about though is how much work is it gonna be to maintain it, and how would we actually do that? I guess we're just gonna, once we get it up and running and we get some, let the businesses know that we've got this, we're just gonna be reliant on them to feed us info, Yes, now, I lost my lease, my renter left, so I have an open lease, so I mean, how else would we know unless we rely on them to keep us informed, Pro Oasis decided that they're carving out some extra space in a place that they can now lease, and they tell us. But yeah, there's no other proactive way we could use that, we just have to. Right?
Yeah, like, well, oh, yeah, like, or we can have a web link to the MLS listing. Or we can have a web link on the DDIC page to the MLS listing. So then anything pops up, actually, anything that ever pops up for Dayton, it'll just automatically go there.
Okay.
Like, I don't know, yeah, like, I mean, I'd like to, like, have something embedded in the website, but just, I mean, like, if there's nothing available, or, yeah, I mean, we'd always have to keep track of it if we did that. That's the only downside.
As I said, we talked about this, but not to a great extent. How valuable do people actually think this idea is? Does it just like sound like we're doing something, but we're not really going to accomplish much? Or, I mean, I don't want to create work for the sake of work if we don't think this is actually going to be that beneficial to people, meaning the businesses in town. It's just kind
I
of
think
sounds good, but may not be as helpful as we're.
maybe that could be something we asked in our survey too. Would businesses utilize that as a resource if it were made available? And as time goes on and we cultivate a relationship with the businesses and perhaps plan at least annual or semi-annual events where they can come and network and collaborate, at those times, or through mailings, we could remind them that there's a web page and the contact information if they had something they wanted to post.
I like that a lot.
So I think maybe it's just premature in that, like our video and our brochure, we're not quite sure what it will look like and how it will operate, but it is a good idea. I mean, if people want it, to utilize it. And I think also to attract people to come to Dayton. I was thinking of it more too as, a link on our webpage that told outsiders about the business community, so they can go and find out what, is there already a landscaping business in Dayton, or how many are there? Do I want to try to, be competition in the town, or, what I'm trying to say, like just a page that highlighted our businesses.
I
And
mean, how many times on Positively Dayton or another website do people ask, is there a Dayton landscaper that you recommend? Is there a Dayton plumber you recommend? I mean, just inventories of those sort of things, as a resource to this town.
yeah, it's like free advertising too. And I mean, they have their Facebook pages and their web pages. They may link to our, you never know. It could really turn into something bigger than what we were even imagining. We're just not ready to design it yet until.
There is no digital yellow pages, like,
It's
the
basically
yellow pages book, right?
Basically what she's saying, yeah.
Yeah, you never.
Like the book.
Oh, I'm sorry, physically.
Oh, we used to, but I don't think so anymore.
I haven't seen a yellow page in
In a
forever.
while. We used to get yellow pages and white pages, but
Extra away.
Cover.
I'm old, but
yeah, no, I haven't seen them in quite a while.
I have not as well.
Digital yellow pages would be great.
We used to have a little book in town that everything
Right.
is,
The only problem, the downside of it is it might get abused in the sense that everybody who has a side job wants their business listed up there. It's really just their side job that they do, but,
Not a legit, well, we could say.
Then if it's a non-reputable-
They need to be
Well,
licensed.
if they have a license.
If they have a license, then we.
people off because it's like, I'm not licensed, I just do plow snow on the side. Why can't I get
Yeah,
a
well,
license?
no, that's not, then they can do the Facebook thing.
Yeah, so. Doesn't mean we can't like set it up properly, but we might open a bit of a can of worms where we upset some
Choose your
people.
businesses located strictly in commercial areas, not residential.
Well, no, maybe the whole idea of being licensed through the
Yep.
town makes them legit, doesn't it?
So yeah, but I'm like thinking, so like I'm thinking of the 30 or so businesses that I sent over to John earlier. There's one actually really big one on County Street, like which doesn't have to get a license. That's still a big business. Like, and they're not on the list at all. So like in that audience, we're missing right from the beginning. So, and that's what I would worry about. Oh, you know, like actually only focusing on those 30. Like we're inherently right at the beginning, leaving people out. Like, and I'm gonna follow up with the town clerk to see if he, like, has any other listing in addition to the license listing as well.
But I think maybe your point businesses
Yeah.
through John and through the questionnaire, and what would help you? And maybe this is one of the ones they say yes, but why don't we get their feedback before we jump the gun?
Yeah, if they don't have an interest.
Yeah.
They should all be licensed, period.
Yeah, how come that one doesn't have to be?
Oh, it didn't, so they don't have like a license that's approved by the Board of Selectmen. Like, and there's only a limited group of businesses that like have to be licensed by the Board of Selectmen. They can be actually approved by the town clerk and on file with the town clerk. So, but the only listing I have now, like only the businesses that were just licensed by the board, like in December 2021 for the full year of 2022. So I'm hoping there's a more like, like a more all-encompassing listing of all of our other businesses too. That's all I'm saying.
John, I suppose.
I think most businesses are supposed to register with the town clerk, right? I mean, if you want to have a business in town, I thought you were supposed to register with the town clerk.
Like, but the only list I have right now are the list of the ones that have actually approved licenses with the Board of Selectmen.
Yep.
And that's a very small part of the universe.
Yeah, okay. Would somebody like me to follow up with, his name is Mark, right? The town clerk?
John, like, and I'm happy to also, like, actually, as we speak, I'm texting him.
Okay,
So this is on our list.
awesome, thank you.
Yep.
And the last item was a questionnaire. We talked about sending out to the community at large about really community planning, land use, like what kind of town do you want Dayton to be? And I was talking to Lenny and I said, it's like, you want a town where 90% of our tax base is paid for by businesses. Well, great, but it looks like high rises and big, factories everywhere, and that's how it looks. Or do you want a town that's rural and mostly residential looking, and guess what? Tax base is 5% paid by businesses, or is it someplace in the middle? And how do you feel about solar and all that kind of stuff? But trying to find a way to send that out to the town and the questionnaire, kind of like the way the open space and recreation plan did with theirs, which they said was very successful. And Mike, you said you had some thoughts about how Serpent might help us with that, right?
So I think how we collectively answer those questions is going to be fleshed out in the plan. In fleshing that out, I do expect citizen engagement sessions. I like in a whole bunch of forums. So I would recommend before we send anything out, we actually have that process happen. And I think that, actually, in my view, that is really the number one issue at the center of the plan. But that's just my thought. But
And there are a lot of other committees, land use just being one of them, that all have pieces of that big puzzle that, so whatever gets sent out as a questionnaire, has to be passed by and vetted and those people as well, and hopefully Serpent can help guide us through that as
Yes.
well.
Yeah, no, and I think they definitely can. I think they understand that question is at the crux of what we're actually really trying to get at here, because that is the huge question of the day.
So, anybody else have any items for new business? Under old business, I did not have any agenda items on table. Sorry, John.
At our last meeting, Lenny, you had asked about, you were talking a little bit about solar generation on a landfill. And I offered to go by Rainham because Rainham has a very large solar array on a landfill in town. So you wanted me to get, or I offered to get the contact information for the person that is responsible in Rainham that was responsible for the planning and the building of that solar array. So that would be Ed Buckley. It's Buckley, and he's the highway superintendent. And would you like me to read out his number, or would you rather have me send you his contact information?
Why don't you send me the contact information?
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Beautiful. Yep.
Under old business,
Well, I hope that'll be helpful.
Very helpful.
Yeah, no, thank you, John.
Thank you.
did you
Thank you
have
very
any planning for old business?
We talked about goals. So we could stay focused and not be all over the place. And as I look at the new business agenda, we've listed BR goals for the
Okay, so the small business outreach planning, the work with Serpent on a questionnaire, and the general work with Serpent and the CCC, something that gives us.
Good point.
Those are our goals for this year.
That'll be the
not
focus.
add anymore unless there's something.
Right.
The other piece. Are they open yet?
No, we don't have a opening date yet, but it's in the relative near future. They're waiting on the state approval from the Cannabis Control Commission. So, and they're really at their mercy right now.
Could we do a event with them? Everybody else is-
Yes. So I have heard they are gonna do a grand opening, but, yeah, like they haven't said anything yet because they can't do anything until they hear from the CCC.
The cannabis,
Oh, the cannabis.
So, I'm sorry, like the Cannabis Control Commission,
Oh, okay.
the CCC at the state.
Oh, thank you.
Next item is correspondence. I'm not aware of any public input. No one on Zoom. Approval of the minutes. Do we have just last month or two months?
No, all I have is the November. I don't-
Do that. Oh.
I spelled. Oh,
Oh, man. Yeah.
that's okay. Is it RAFA? Yeah. There is a mistake in the scheduled presentation. Some,
So we're gonna postpone this meeting to vote on it, okay. So we did vote on, we had September and October, no, we did not have September, because that was our first
well, we
meeting.
did October.
We did October. So when do those go on the public town website? I just noticed there's no minutes up there. And I didn't know if we were supposed to do something to get them up
They
there.
have to be downloaded to the web, to
What
the,
do you, would you have those, like, do you have the previous months, if you can, like, send them to me over email?
Certainly.
And then I'll send them to the town clerk.
Okay.
Thank you, that's a good point, yeah.
So our next meeting would be if we keep to this agenda, this timetable would be the third Monday in February, which would be, somebody has a
Is
calendar.
that a holiday again?
Yeah.
I might be.
Hey, Mike.
yeah.
You guys, and go, sorry,
February 21st, is that President's Day or something?
it is.
It is, okay. So we know Mike will be here.
But the thing is, getting Serpent for that might be tough because they do actually recognize a holiday.
Yeah.
Okay, so do we want to think about a different date in February? And I don't know what date may not be available to us.
So typically Monday nights are pretty clear.
Okay. Everybody okay with,
Make sure it's not Valentine's Day.
it is actually. the
Is it?
14th,
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
I don't know.
So how,
Do you want to go out a week to the 28th?
I would recommend we go like out a week, so that's more time for Serpent to plan and schedule. But that's just my thought. I mean, I'm not the gospel.
Yeah. Is everybody okay with the 28th?
At 6:30.
At 6:30.
Yeah, that's better.
Send out a reminder to everybody.
Thank you.
We're through the agenda. Does anybody ever have any business items we haven't brought up that need to be discussed? Does anybody want to make a motion? Well, do we have to vote on the next meeting, Dave, or not?
No.
Does anybody want to make a motion for adjournment?
Don't we have to vote on the date that we're gonna,
That's why I asked, do you have to vote on the date, or we just
I don't think you
vote on the
do.
date?
You don't have to. I mean, it's a functory type of thing, no.
all right, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second,
Second.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye, aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
7:56.
Have a great
Thank you,
night.
John.
Thank
Yep,
you.
bye.